there was the iconic slide. Now, whenever you watch another anime and you see that slide, you know where it originated from. Okay, this movie is Akira from 1988, I believe. It's in the 80s anyway. This is obviously an anime. It's a very famous anime. It's probably one of the most well-known animes because it's so iconic. It's also the anime that's probably introduced people to anime, the most people to anime. I don't think it was the one that introduced me to anime, but it was one of the very first ones I watched movie-wise. This logo is iconic. It was synonymous with a lot of really good movies. So a lot of people probably won't notice this, but it blends a lot of what Japan was in the 80s into the movie. In Japan in the 80s, you had biker gangs and a lot of student protests, and this is clearly injected into the movie, but it's not trying to make it political or it's not referencing real world politics, which is why it works. Which is why a lot of modern movies also fail, is they try and inject real politics and then pick a side rather than just giving the audience a choice, letting the audience decide. Whereas what it does in this movie is it kind of just blurs what it is. So it injects part of the culture of what was happening in the 80s in Japan into the movie, but it doesn't tell you how to think about it or what side to pick. What's interesting about this date as well, I believe that one of the dates is like 2026 or something, or 20, is it 2025 or 2020, is the date of like where the future is supposed to be in this, I think. So this image is pretty interesting. It gives you kind of the like inside of a body and looking at the veins and the blood flow inside the body. And I think that's what the director is going for. Oh, there it is. There's the date. 2019 Neo Tokyo. So this Neo Tokyo. So this should be, this is like older than the current future, and it's got lots of like futuristic things in it. Another thing to add as well is the music is some of the best thing about this. It sets the tone for the rest of the movie. So this is one of the first images I seen after converting. If you look at the top right on the traffic light, there is some haloing going on, but otherwise it pops out so well because obviously it's got that hallway effect again, which is a really good effect in 3D. And it pops out really well, and I was really surprised when I first looked at it, and I was like, wow, that's actually come out really well. Even though you got the odd halo glitch, which is normal when you're converting from 2D to 3D. But also one of the first scenes they show you is kind of this rundown road with more of a futuristic high-rise towers in the background. This is one of the things that always got me, is that voice just sounds like a guy trying to sing like really badly, even though it's flipping through channels. I should add as well that I'm actually watching this with the subtitles instead of dub. I'm somebody who's 90% of the stuff I've watched is subtitled, probably more than that. But I have been leaning towards dub just recently because sometimes I'll have the video off to the side while I'm doing something, or I'll have it in the VR headset and it's kind of harder to read the subtitles in the VR headset. But I have been putting dub on. But what I've noticed is what I tend to do is test the dub quality, is actually leave the subtitles on, change the track to dub, and see the difference between the dub and the subtitles. If the dub is like way off and not even matching the subtitles, then it's a bad dub in my opinion. But also you've got to be careful for Americanized dubs that are very ideological, political, and they'll actually remove certain comments by characters because they find it offensive. So you have to be really careful with that. In fact, it's got so bad the Japanese are now saying that they're actually working very hard to get AI to replace the American dubbers. I can't remember the exact anime it was, but one of them actually made headlines for the way the dub artist changed complete narratives of a character because they found the character offensive. I actually look, this is the artwork in this movie is probably one of the best anime artworks, and you don't really see much of it anymore. And I think the reason for this is because they've put on more emotion and characteristic into their faces than any other anime I've seen for a long time. You can just tell this by the nose. Like if you look at their noses, they're very different from normal anime. When normal anime is rushed, so they'll normally just simplify the nose as much as possible and other features, and it's very flat. Whereas in this anime, they've done a really good job with like the noses and the facial expressions and the eyes as well. The eyes is very, very good as well. In fact, I haven't seen much of it around at the moment. I have just started getting back into watching anime, and it is the stereotypical facial styles with the pointy nose, pointy chin, and round eyes and stuff. But this art style, I wish was pushed more. But if you look at some of the characters in the bar, some of them look really grotesque, and I think that's probably why they wanted to put so much effort into the facial drawings, is because they wanted to give that more grimy look. And I guess the flat faces kind of are more. It's harder to get that grime look from the more flat faces. This is another iconic thing as well, is that pill on the back of his t-shirt. That's very iconic as well. That's kind of a really cool like movie trick is to get him to actually play music on the actual record player, and then he walks away, but that music's then going to be introduced as the record player loads it. A cool way to transition the music into the scene. So there's the iconic bike, and this bike has probably been represented in so many different movies, including Hollywood movies. Again, look at the facial expressions. There's a lot more detail than in normal anime. Like even the ears coming out, like poking out ears, and then you've got the nose as well. And the eye. It's just the whole thing is just way more expressive than normal anime. I mean, anime can be expressive as well, but they tend to do the cutie expressions, like the wide eyes or whatever. So the music as well, that's good. I don't know, this is going to be really hard. You're probably not going to hear the music because of copyright. It's going to be really hard for me to remove it. But the music, like I said, the music is some of the most iconic music ever. I mean, I say iconic, but it's probably iconic within the anime crowd. People, I guess people outside of the anime probably won't recognize it. But it's so unique to this movie as well. If you hear this music outside of the movie and you know your anime, you'll recognize this music straight away. I've always loved that scene. I don't know why, even when I was a kid and I very first watched this, where the guy just comes out of smoke and the cop just turns to her and just pows another smoke grenade into the guy. I don't know why, even as a kid, I loved that. I don't know why, it always made me like kind of giggle inside. That's interesting. I think they're British. I think they're British rifles they're using as well. I'm not sure if the Japanese actually had them or not. They're really shit ones as well. I'm not a gun person. I just recognize it because I've seen, it was some older movies where I've seen it. If anybody does good guns, it's the Americans. So this is what I was remembering as well, because this actually happened. They actually had Tokyo Olympics on the date of this movie, so it actually happened. I think I'll end this here and hopefully I can cut it up to something reasonable, but it's been really hard to review this movie because I'm just getting myself sucked in to it as well and trying to overanalyze it, trying to talk about it, because the movie is just so good. I give this movie a 4 out of 5. It's a definite watch. If there's any other remakes, never watch them. Always look for the original movies. Remakes are always inferior. Always look for the originals. And I highly recommend re-experiencing this in 3D as well. Keep in mind this is like an 18+ movie, I would say. There is kind of a lot of violence and political, and I think there's even some nudism in it later on as well, so you have to be careful with that. So it's not really a child movie. It's definitely an adult movie.